Hello everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Your Communication Strategy from Paper and PDF to Digital. Just giving it a bit of time to allow more attendees to join. Okay, let's do just a bit of housekeeping while we're waiting for the rest of you. My name is Sylvia Bethencourt. I'm the head of LEAP CommunityNet and also the head of LEAP Online Communications. Just a little bit about CommunityNet. I'm sure most of you would have heard of it, but if you haven't, CommunityNet is a website, a LEAP website, and we collate and curate information for the for-purpose sector. So that's not-for-profits, social enterprises, for-purpose businesses, government agencies, community groups, and so on. So if you haven't heard of CommunityNet, I encourage you to visit it, communitynet.ngo, and have a look at the news, events, jobs, regional news, so if you're in Western Sydney or Central West, news on volunteering and digital inclusion, funding, and a lot more. And you'll be able to subscribe to a number of newsletters from there as well. You can also, on CommunityNet, you can also find links to all our social media platforms, which are listed on the screen for you. So we encourage you to connect with us that way as well. We're going to have questions at the end of the webinars, but please feel free to access your panel on the right-hand side where it says questions and post your questions throughout the webinar. And I'll do my best to answer all of them and discuss them at the end of the webinar. I'll be sending you a resource links document at the end of today, by the end of today. It will have links to any resources I mentioned during this webinar, so you don't need to worry about making notes and trying to find the links. Along with that, I'll be sending you just a very short 3 or 4 question evaluation survey for this webinar that I really appreciate if you could complete. Okay, just might give it a couple more minutes. While we're waiting, this is the 4th in LEAP's webinar series this August. Our next webinar will be next week, and it's about corporate volunteering and how to access that. So if you go to leap.ngo and click on 2017 webinars, you'll be able to see the details for that. Our previous webinars that we run this month are also available on our YouTube channel. Okay, we might get started with the webinar today. If you're sending your newsletters, term programs, and other marketing information by mail, this is the webinar for you, or by mail or PDF. And this is what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about some of the reasons your promotional communication strategy might include paper and PDF instead of digital at the moment. We're going to be discussing the top benefits of going digital to motivate you to go there. How to go about it. We're going to be talking about planning, how to move your communications promotional strategy online, and how to do it, some of the tools you can use to do that. So we'll be discussing the use of e-newsletters, your website, blogging, and social media. So if at the moment, as I said, you're sending your communication promotional material by mail or creating a PDF and emailing it, you obviously have your reasons to do this. In my experience, the reasons usually are, there are 2 of them. The first one is that our clients or our audience is not online. Some of you are probably too young to even know what this picture is. I'm not going to tell you, you have to Google it. I think sometimes this is how we imagine our clients still communicate, or this is the level of digital skills they have, and therefore, because our audience is not online, we don't distribute our information digitally. The other reason you might have is we don't know how to switch to digital or add digital to our promotional strategy, like to digital or not to digital. Sorry, I'll let myself out now. No, just kidding. Okay, so those are the two reasons we find are most common for people not to have a digital strategy. So let's have a look at the first issue, which is our clients are not online. And you think because of that, there's no point in emailing them or directing them to a website. There's no reason for you to have a social media presence like Facebook. And this might be a legitimate reason if you've got the evidence to back up your claim that your clients are not online. And if you're not relying on anecdotal data, because a few clients have told you they're not online, so you're assuming that's the case for the majority of them. And I find that this is particularly the case for organizations working within disadvantaged or underserved communities, services working with a client group that statistically is less likely to be online, such as older people, people with disability, people from a culturally and linguistically diverse background, and so on. So if our clients are not online is an assumption that your organization is making, it's time to do some research. And it will take a little time because, of course, you can't email them or ask them to fill out an online survey. So this is the time to start a spreadsheet or get on the phone or ask them face-to-face. So perhaps when you're providing your service or when you're holding an event or when they first join your service, and record their answers and start getting that evidence together. For those clients that are telling you they're not online and they're online but they don't use it because they don't know how, it's worth asking why, the reasons why, because this is an issue of concern. The latest issue of the Australian Digital Inclusion Index, which has just been released, tells us that although overall digital inclusion is growing in Australia, so more people than ever are connected, the digital divides are growing though. So between rich and poor, young and old, women, particularly older women and men, between different geographical areas, and amongst the other client groups I mentioned earlier. If your research is showing you your clients are not online but would like to be, or are online but lack basic digital skills, it's worth asking if your organization is in a position to help to get them online or to assist them in getting basic digital skills. So for example, can you start a digital mentoring program at your center or service? Or if not, can you refer them to one? At LEAP, we believe that digital inclusion is about everyone. It's about every service type and client group. It's not an isolated issue. It's really a social justice and social inclusion issue. Being connected is fast becoming a necessity rather than a luxury. So for example, increasingly a necessity in interacting with government services, Centrelink, MyGov, online health records, MyAgeCare, information on NDIS. More and more of those services are moving online, and in the future it's very likely that the only way people are going to be able to access those services and interact with them and get information from them will be online. We can help with either setting up a digital mentoring program or with helping finding one near you. I'm not going to go into more detail because it's not the purpose of this webinar, but it's so crucial that I wanted to touch on it. And if you would like more information or support with this, please head to our website, leap.ngo, and have a look under our digital inclusion section. Last week, we also ran a webinar on how to set up a digital inclusion, a digital mentoring program. And that webinar is now on YouTube if you would like to have a look at it. If you go to leap.ngo, at the footer of our website, you will find the links to all our social media accounts, and you'll find the link to our YouTube channel there. Okay, so let's have a look at the second reason you might have or your communications not being digital, and that's related to the how, because this is the way we've always done it. It's easy. You don't have the in-house know-how how to move from paper to digital or PDF to digital, and how do you even start? And that's where I hope I can help you today, because I'm here to tell you it's worth it. It's not that hard, it's possible, and it just requires some planning, changing work habits, and a little bit of a learning curve. Okay, so to get you motivated, I want to have a look at the 5 benefits of switching to digital communications. Some of the things you will be able to do that you can't do now. And we'll be going through how to do each of these things. So number 1 is mobile reach. It's estimated that 50% now of email communications are now opened via a mobile device. If you've ever tried to read a long PDF on your phone, you know that it's not fun. So in order to design for maximum readability, you need to move those publications into an online platform. By the way, Google last year or the year before started ranking mobile-friendly websites higher in search results, and they have an online checker to check if your website is mobile-friendly. And if there are any issues, it will list them for you. So that's really important. Mobile reach, that's only going to grow. Accessibility, now this is a big one because PDFs are not natively accessible. You have to make them accessible. And you can't do that with a free version of Adobe. And paper documents are not necessarily accessible if you have clients with a sight impairment, for example. And it really doesn't matter if your client base are not people with disability, because accessibility should be at the starting point of any online communication design principle. Your online communications need to be accessible to, for example, people using screen readers, people using a keyboard instead of a mouse, screen magnifiers, and other tools to help with low vision, learning disabilities, contrast, etc. So no PDFs. Next one is about interaction, which equals engagement. Paper and PDF are about passive information sharing, and switching to an online strategy will increase your engagement with your community and your clients and your stakeholders. Because, for example, you will be able to introduce interactive elements to your communication, and we'll be going through that in more detail later. Now, segmenting your audience, what does that mean? Your audience is probably made up of a number of different things like those. And it's costly and it's difficult to create different messages for these audiences via paper or PDF. You might not want to send the same information to your partners or your volunteers as you're sending to your clients. So that's really impractical to do, to create different messaging. If your mailing list is housed on Outlook, for example, which is not designed to be a user-friendly mailing list manager. And the number 5 benefit is about analyzing and evaluating. So at the moment, when you do your mail outs, how do you know how many people are opening their envelope and how many are just chucking it in the bin? And when you send your PDF newsletter or term program or service flyer by email, how do you know who opened it? So more importantly, how do you know what they did after they opened it? You can't. So by going digital, you will be able to do both. Okay, so now that hopefully I got you motivated and excited about changing to digital, let's go into the all-important how. And the first thing, of course, is planning. Having a plan will help you implement your switch in easy stages, okay, to establish a realistic timeline for switching and keep track of your progress. It doesn't matter if it's a spreadsheet, a Word document, written cards, whatever works for you as long as you commit to it. And whatever method you use, your plan should include first a review of your promotional and marketing strategy. So what you have currently, what do you do now? And what resources do you have to work with? And this is an important one to be really realistic with, because you need to look at your budget, your staff expertise, your time. So it's very important that you set realistic goals. The platforms you are thinking of switching to, will it be better to do any newsletter? Can we blog? Where are we on social media? Are we participating? Ask yourself those questions, and perhaps most importantly, who is actioning all this and by when? and regularly reviewing and tweaking your plan and implementation so that it's on track and being followed and everyone involved is on the same page. Now let's have a look at some of the options and tools that are available to you for switching to a digital communication strategy. So now that you have your plan, one of the strategies you might be looking at is switching to e-newsletters. From paper or from PDF or Word or from your Outlook mailing list. We strongly recommend that you use a professional e-newsletter service. It makes things a lot easier and they're not that expensive. If you have a small mailing list, I've listed there at the bottom probably the three top ones that people are using. MailChimp, which is my personal favorite as a standalone e-newsletter service, Constant Contact, and a web app. Now, MailChimp, for example, is free for up to 2,000 subscribers and 12,000 emails per month. Over and above that, you do have to pay, but I don't believe it is prohibitive cost. I will be sending you actually an infographic with many more email marketing tools and what they can do, so you can have a look at that. So why are we recommending you switch to a professional e-newsletter service? All the benefits we outlined earlier, the 5 benefits, apply to these. All these services are ready-made e-newsletter templates, so you don't have to start from scratch. And they're mobile friendly. That takes the headache out of you having to make it responsive. They're also accessible. They have an option. You might have seen just about every e-newsletter you receive on the email has an option to read it online, so that people can read it with screen readers. They can make the fonts bigger, etc. You can include interactive features. You can include polls and surveys, event registration links, etc. You can segment your audience. You can create different mailing lists easily and give people the option of subscribing to different ones. So you could have an e-newsletter, for example, for your volunteers and have your volunteers subscribe to that, and another one for your clients, and so on. You can measure engagement. So at the very least, you should be able to keep track of how many people opened the e-newsletter. That's called your open rate. And the most important statistic, how many people clicked on a link to further information, to make a booking, to attend an event. And this is your click-through rate. As I said, my favorite amongst them is MailChimp, for the simple reason that it is really user-friendly. They use language that's easy to understand. They have a lot of tutorials and help and support on their website. And they have so many templates to choose from. And they have really good support as well. We also have a webinar we ran last year, which was called 6 Hot Tips for Your E-Newsletter. And in that webinar, I go into more detail about how to get the most out of this communication strategy. And that's on our YouTube channel, available for you to watch. And I go into more detail about the importance of mobile design, the best e-newsletter platforms to use, how to make your emails pop, how to make your e-newsletter part of an overall online communication strategy, and why segmentation and analysis are both essential to your success. Now, what about your content? Where will your content come from, and how will you transfer the current content of your promotional material to digital? If you're looking to just occasionally send out information about your organization and what it does, you can manually create the content and insert it into your e-newsletter template and send it to your list every month or a couple of months. And this is the most basic scenario, and it's fairly easy to do once you learn how to use the e-newsletter service of your choice. But if you have term programs, if you run regular events, if you compile information and resources for your clients around a specific topic, how can you then set up a holistic online strategy that might encompass not only an e-newsletter, but also includes your website and social media platforms? Something that is also easy to implement and that's as automated as possible to save you time. That's where your website comes in. Hopefully you have one. And if you have one, It is both mobile friendly and accessible. So those are two very important points. It needs to be what's called a content management system, or CMS for short. Examples of these platforms include WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. The reason it needs to be a CMS is that these platforms can be made to automatically draw content from the site and place it on an e-newsletter or a social media platform. And it also has the advantage that your information is available to search engines, making it discoverable by people who might be looking for a service like yours. Now here I've got an example of this strategy. This is Leap's CommunityNet, and this is built on Joomla CMS, and it has a component, an e-newsletter component on the CMS that's called AC Mailing. Now, if you know CommunityNet, you know that we have a number of segmented e-newsletters. They're both topic-based and geographically based. To create these e-newsletters, we set up the component to once a week or once a fortnight, depending on the newsletter. Grab the latest content from the website and place it on the template. The component also handles all subscribes and unsubscribes, and it has really great analytical data for us to measure the e-newsletter success. I really think AC Mailing is the best e-newsletter component for Joomla. The basic service is free, but there are also paid options, and we use one of these because it has better features, obviously, than the free version, but it's not expensive. For WordPress, there are a number of plugins. Most of them are free, some of them are listed here, and I'll be sending you links to all of these, and also to an article that talks about, a very good article that talks about the top WordPress e-newsletter plugins that you can get for free. Okay, so let me show you a simpler example. This might be a bit too much time and effort for a lot of you. I'm going to show you something using WordPress and MailChimp, and it's one of the easiest things to set up. There are many ways of implementing this strategy, okay? So this is just one of them, and it's one of the easiest and least time-consuming ones. This is the Parramatta Koori Interagency website. It's a very simple WordPress site. It's set up like a blog. It has a number of administrators that regularly enter content into the website as blog posts. And it also allows for anyone to submit content to the site, and that's moderated so that any new posts submitted to the administrators go to the administrators for approval. It uses MailChimp as an e-newsletter service. So they have a sign-up form on the site. Anyone can subscribe to their e-newsletter. MailChimp has been set up to interact with the site via something called RSS, which stands for Real Simple Syndication. Really, RSS is just a way of getting to see the latest blog posts on a blog chronologically, so the latest ones first. Anyway, once a week, all the new blog posts are automatically inserted into an e-newsletter and sent out. That's how it's been set up with MailChimp. So the administrators don't have to do anything except enter the content, of course, the articles onto the website and approve the ones that are sent to them. But the subscribes and unsubscribes to the list are handled by MailChimp, and they get a report sent to them about each newsletter, about their open rate, the click-through rates, and so on. So this is an easy way that you could set up a blog within your existing site, or set up a new blog within a website, and you can enter content there that will then automatically get put into an e-newsletter each week or each month or however often you wish it, and sent to your mailing list. And your mailing list is automated. Now, PKI, they don't have a social media presence. They don't have the resources or a real need to do that. But this type of setup could easily be integrated so that posts could be published on Facebook or Twitter, for example, automatically as well. So there you go. That's one way of having your promotional content automated across different platforms by using a blogging strategy, which again also has the added benefit of driving more traffic to your website, of making you searchable on search engines and discoverable by a new audience, perhaps. And if you've never blogged before, you might be wondering how to start. For example, how to build a blog post, what to write about and how to write about it. So I created this little infographic. I was thinking how to create a tool that's something you could have next to you when writing a blog post, or a way to always have these 4 ingredients in your head that you always use to mix into a post. So they say to write about what you know, and I know cocktails. And I will tell you that the perfect cocktail has 4 ingredients, as demonstrated by one of my favorites, the margarita. 4 ingredients counting the salt, which of course is a must. Now, ideas for the blog post could include events you recently held, resources you recently launched, a story about a service you provide, perhaps a client story, announcing your brand new term program, etc. So when you're writing a blog post, your first ingredient is, number 1, is your numbers, your evidence. Gather your numbers. The number of people at your event, or the number of people you service, your statistics about them, etc. Which takes us to ingredient 2. Numbers are great because numbers give you credibility. But the problem with numbers is that they're really boring. And your story is possibly the most important ingredient. It's like the tequila of your post, because people love stories, not numbers, and that's where your multimedia comes in. So be very visual telling your story. Lots of photos, these days especially a video. It doesn't have to be great quality, as long as the story is good. It can be a video you've taken on your phone or your tablet. It needs to be short to keep people's attention. So we're talking 1-2 minutes max. Your story goes to demonstrate the difference you're making and to tag at people's heartstrings in order for them to answer your call to action, which we'll get to in a minute. The ingredient 3 is the reason people will read your blog post. There has to be something in it for them. It could be the download of the resource you launched, or it could be that they're invited to your next free event. It's the hook. People are busy, and you need to think about what's in it for them in reading this blog post of yours. Ingredient 4, your call to action. That's the reason you are writing the blog post. What is your call to action? What's in it for your organization? Which could be something as simple as asking people to sign up for your e-communications, or something much bigger like moving those heartstrings enough for people to donate to your organization if your story is good enough. I will include a link to this infographic in your links document so you can download it. Now, once you commit to blogging, how often should you do it? I guess that will depend on how often you're thinking of integrating this with your e-newsletter strategy. For example, if you're going to be sending it once a month or once a term. At LEAP, we have committed to blogging at least once a month, more if we can. But of course, we're all time poor, so it's not always possible. But what is really important is that once you commit to that strategy is to follow it through, because there's nothing worse than people coming to your website and going to your news section and seeing something there that's 6 months old. It lessens your credibility and trust in your brand and your site. So do try and keep it up. And if you can't, then it's better not to have it at all than to have a really outdated resource on your site. Now, once you've worked hard on your online promotions, you're going to want to broadcast those efforts far and wide. And integrating into social media is a great way of doing this. The social media platforms you will choose to maintain depend on a number of variables, like where your audience hangs out, how much time you have. And it's not a good idea to go into too many, but rather to do your research and strategically concentrate on a couple and do those well. Whatever social media platforms you decide to go with, there are a number of principles that really apply across the board to all of them that you should be undertaking. Videos, particularly these days, live streaming are huge, particularly through Facebook and Twitter. It's not that hard to do. At LEAP events, we often live stream, And it's simply a question of setting up a couple of iPads or tablets, having an internet connection. And we've had one iPad live streaming through Periscope, which is Twitter's live streaming platform, and the other live streaming through Facebook Live, Facebook's live streaming platform. Those videos are then available later on as well for you to share and to use in a blog post, for example. Short videos of the impact your service is having. As I said, you can follow the perfect blog post, cocktail for this, no more than a couple of minutes, really punchy, telling a really good story, showing the difference that your service is making. Photos of your events, client services. Now, photos and videos, don't forget, you must obtain consent to have people in your event photos, for example. The best way to do this is to have a sign-in sheet and to have an opt-out column. So rather than asking people, yes, please give us permission to have you on our photos and video, ask them, if you don't want to be on our photos and videos, please sign here. And people are much less likely to opt out. If they do, then that makes it a bit difficult for you, because then you have to make sure those people are not in your photos or videos. But that's the law, and you must obtain permission. It's really important to encourage engagement through your social media. So don't use it just as a passive information sharing tool. Ask questions, have polls, mention others, share what others are doing as well as what you're doing. And have an editorial calendar. This can be really useful. And I will send you a link to how to set one up. It's not that hard. It's basically having perhaps a spreadsheet that lists all your online communication strategies, and then list the dates, what you're going to be posting, who's going to be doing it. And if you keep an editorial calendar running for the next month or 3 months or so, it has to be fairly short term because it has to be fairly flexible. That will really help you to keep focused and to keep up with your strategy. Some good tips that I want to give you is to have your email signature for every staff member should be part of your promotional strategy. It should at least have your website address, links to all your social media accounts, and if possible, it's a really good idea to have a banner on that email signature that changes now and then. So, for example, we ran the banner for the last week to promote this webinar. And we have a generic banner that is just our LEAP logo. But if we're running a special event or running webinars, that we put that on our email signature, and everyone has the same the same banner promoting the event. It does not have to be a banner if you don't have time to do that. Perhaps it could be a link that you can add to your email signature for an upcoming event or something that you really want to highlight about a service that you're running or a resource that you're launching. Another good strategy with CommunityNet, for example, in our e-newsletters, when we go to events or to conferences or we run events ourselves, we have a couple of staff run around with an iPad or a tablet and sign up people right there. So that's why it's important to have a sign up form on your website. So show them what it's about, ask them do they want to sign up, remind them that they can unsubscribe at any time, and remember to have that on any email communication you regularly send out. You must have an opt-out link by law, an unsubscribe link. If you're using a professional e-newsletter service, they will take care of that for you and put it there themselves. So it's very easy to do. So this is a really good way of starting to grow your list and to really promote your online communications when you're out and about. Another good strategy, I know we all hate pop-ups when we go to a website, don't you? And a pop-up shows up. But they work. They work if you use them properly. We have on CommunityNet, again, we have a pop-up for our different e-newsletters, but we have it set up, it's a component that's set up that actually only shows it to a particular visitor a maximum of once per month. So it doesn't show it to them every single time they come to the website. And I think that's really important because that could get really tiresome and might completely turn people off your website if you have a pop-up that appears every single time. So I reckon a maximum of 1 time per week if you're going to have a pop-up. But we started using this, it's probably 6 months now since we've been using this strategy. And our email list is, has really grown from this strategy, so it's really worth it. They do work. Something else to do is to invest on a banner for your events, a banner that lists your website address and links to perhaps social media, depending on what platform you're using the most, whether it's your blog or your website. A really visible, colorful banner that you can take with you to different events or that you run or that you're running with partners. Sometimes you can't do it all yourself or you don't have time to do it all yourself, and it's actually more cost effective to get someone else to do it and pay them to do it. So for website development, if you're looking to revamp your website or you don't actually have one yet, I'm not actually going to recommend anyone because I don't believe in doing that, only because I believe a website design company is only as good as its last website. There are changes in staff, changes in management. So I don't like recommending anyone, but what I do recommend you do is that you use word of mouth. So ask other organizations that do things that are similar to what you do. And if you like their website, ask them who did it for them and what the process was and how they found it. If you come to any websites online that you like the look of, and they do, again, similar things as you do, then contact that organization. People are usually more than happy to help you out and let you know who did their website and who to contact. For training, so to upskill yourself in some of the issues I've talked about today, our training partner, AMK Consulting, Anne-Marie Kerr, I'll send you her contact details on the list as well. She's a fabulous trainer. She's got so much knowledge. She's got very reasonable rates. And if you're looking to, if you don't know the first thing about where to start with social media or with blogging or just about anything else we discussed today, and you're after some training, I recommend that you contact her. At Leap, we can help you with e-newsletter and mailing list creation and maintenance. So if you would like to have an e-newsletter, but you just don't have the time to commit to doing it, contact us for help with that. We do community newsletters for a number of partners, including City of Parramatta Council, Hawkesbury Council, Fairfield Council, and we're quite happy to look into maintaining and creating and sending e-newsletters on your behalf with your branding, but with our expertise behind it. Again, as I mentioned, digital mentoring program setup. Do go to Leap NGO, watch last week's webinar about setting up a digital mentoring program. On our website, we also have a directory that lists digital mentoring programs that are mostly around Western Sydney, but we're trying to get it to grow. If you do have a digital mentoring program, be sure to add yourself to the directory. You can do that for free. And volunteering, if you're looking for support for volunteers, volunteer managers, perhaps getting help from volunteers to help you with some of these things that we've discussed today, you can contact our volunteering support team for support and resources. Now, question time is brought to you by my dog, Lord Byron. He thanks you for listening to me today. He never does, at least not when I tell him to do something. I'm just going to see if I've got any questions. If you'd like to ask me something, now's the time. Okay, someone got a question here. Are you able to help us optimize or use eTapestry. Yeah, it's a specific database system that we have paid for but having trouble finding the time to figure it out. If you'd like to email me directly and just give me a little bit more information, love to help you with more information about that. It might take just too much time right now to discuss it, but I do know what you mean. I think that happens a lot in the sector when we purchase or we have a platform that we're just, we pay for, but then we're having trouble, you know, knowing how to use it or getting support on how to use it. So happy to take that further. If you would like to email me, my contact details will be at the end of the webinar here. Thank you, Beck. I don't have anyone else. Okay, what I'm going to do, oops, here we go. I'd like to thank you for watching this. I'd like to remind you to head to CommunityNet, please, and look at our e-newsletters and see if any of them are of interest for you to subscribe. I'm going to be sending you that links document today. And I encourage you to contact me for any questions or further support that you need on this subject. So I'm at sylviab@lib.ngo 4721-1866. Thank you for watching and bye for now.